¿Estamos todos, Gema? ¿Estamos todos? Me espero cuando tú me digas.
Thank you very much. As explained 1 year ago, we met here and we showed you what we were going to develop here at Valencia in collaboration with the management of the Service of Management of Water of the city. Now, 1 year after, we are meet here and we are showing the results. Last year, we brought to this round table the same people as today, Guillaume Pierre, the coordinator of FogGuru project from the University of Rennes. Please come to the round table and have a seat, please, Guillaume. Alberto Palomar, the representative of Global Omnium, which is the collaborating company. Thank you. The collaborating company with the Services of Management of Water of the City Council of Valencia. Vincente Inglada, which is the secretary of the Consumidores Union of Comunidad Valenciana, which is representing the citizenship, and Dimitrios Giouroukis, which is one of our researchers. As commented last year, we were talking here with these colleagues about the things that we want to develop at Valencia. We were asking ourselves what to expect, and now we are going to evaluate the results. Okay? We want to make these discussions collaborative and open, so I'm going to send you some questions. You are able to answer, but any of you can answer the questions I'm going to ask. The question will be directed to one specifically, but all of you can answer. Moreover, you can ask, the audience could ask your questions using the hashtag #FogGuru that you can see in the screen in some moments, so we will receive the questions from the YouTube chat, and we will ask our colleagues. So, please, my first question is to Dimitrios, please. How can the real-world experimentation improve academic research?
How can is this on? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
The question, if I understood, is how can experimentation help with academic research? I mean, it's part of it. We have to do it anyway in order to publish and in order to prove that what we're doing is actually correct. In this case, specifically for the lab, it was more like, what's the difference between living in a lab rat, basically, like as in an academia, and what's the real problems that people see outside of it? And that was the actual difference that we saw. For the research itself, as I said, it's the way to prove that you're right. And it's the only way, actually, to prove that you're right.
So, in your opinion, it's very important to test in a real environment because it's very different from the academy and from a closed environment. Yes. And what did you learn from this living lab?
Well, okay, you cannot account for pandemics. That's one thing. The other is that you have to have patience. And that is because, okay, you're a part of university, you're part of a team, and in order to communicate with people outside of it, it's not hard, but it takes time. In order to understand each other, in order to understand what we need and mutually move forward, basically. That's what we've learned. If it's personal research, it's way different. If it's in a team setting, it's another story that we found out here.
And now going deep into the more technical part of the use case, Alberto, please, could you explain us what's the most important benefit of fog computing technologies from your point of view to the water management in Valencia?
I think the most important thing is that you have the possibility of managing a distributed intelligence network. This way you can act more quickly to an event in the network that needs to be acted quickly, for instance. If not only the smart meters are connected, but also electromagnetic valves and so on, if a FogGuru node it detects that is a leak in a distribution network or pipeline, because the system is able to correlate the information of several meters, it can take decisions in local, not has to wait to the central server that maybe the algorithm is running by night and is too late for action. So we have a tool to act immediately.
Mm-hmm. And in your opinion, what were your perspectives for real-world experimentations? What are your perspectives for real-world experimentation?
I think that this technology opened our mind, and we have to re-engineer all our distributed network with the intelligence in the network and not in the main server. So you can connect different devices that maybe nowadays are working in an standalone mode, and a meter knows what is happening with this customer. But a FogGuru node, for instance, can know what is occurring with 500 users. So has information to take more accurate decisions in order to manage the network. And the same for the distribution pipelines and so on. There are a lot of possibilities that open to engineers to design a complete network.
Thank you. And Vicente, now from the part of the citizenship, por la parte de la ciudadanía, después de haber escuchado los resultados del piloto y los resultados del caso de uso y cómo lo vamos a continuar aplicando, ¿crees que la ciudadanía se puede beneficiar directamente de esto?
Sí, en principio...
Could you translate again? Yes, the question is, if do you think that the citizenship could benefit directly from the results of this research and innovation project?
La pregunta es si la ciudadanía, que si opinas que la ciudadanía se puede beneficiar.
Sí.
Que me lo has entendido, ¿verdad?
Sí, sí, sí.
Vale, sí. Veía que asentía.
Ok. Sí, en principio, sobre todo, tenemos en cuenta, ¿no?, que FogGuru es un proyecto de innovación siempre al propio servicio de la ciudadanía, y entonces sí que tiene resultados positivos desde el punto de vista que sobre todo supone beneficios, ¿no? Nosotros vemos una serie de beneficios medioambientales y sobre todo también económicos para los propios ciudadanos. Y en ese sentido, este tipo de iniciativas y la utilización de los datos pues va a llevar sin duda a una serie de proyectos y de tratamiento que van a ser muy beneficiosos para los ciudadanos.
Y también, así desde el punto de vista de los ciudadanos, ¿crees que...
Would you like me to interpret into English?
Sí, yes, please.
Yes. Thank you.
Desde el punto de vista de los ciudadanos, ¿crees que... Ay, perdón.
Yes, sorry. Yes, in principle, as it especially takes into account the benefits and the advantages for citizens, FogGuru is a project that is at the service of the citizen. Therefore, it shows positive results in terms of environmental and economic benefits for the citizens as a whole, and these type of incentives and of initiatives we are sure that revolve around the use of data will lead to other projects that will be beneficial for all of us in Valencia.
Thank you. Now, I was asking that, estaba preguntando si crees que el fog computing debería permanecer ser impulsado desde la iniciativa privada como está siendo ahora mismo, o debería evolucionar hacia un modelo más gestionado más público.
Sí,
Espera.
Vicente, in your opinion, do you think that fog computing should keep on being fostered and supported from the private sector, or rather should evolve towards becoming a more public service.
Indudablemente, nosotros como organización de personas consumidoras siempre abogamos por un sistema público, pero no obstante, creemos que en este sentido la colaboración público-privada es importante, ¿no? Es importante desde el punto de vista que creemos que la tecnología, al estar siempre al servicio de los ciudadanos, va a ser positivo, ¿no? Y en ese sentido, el trabajo conjunto entre universidades, grupos empresariales, el propio ayuntamiento, como es en este caso, pues puede favorecer desde el punto de vista de la eficacia pues la propia iniciativa, ¿no? Entonces, en ese sentido, yo creo que la colaboración público-privada sería mucho más importante para hacer un proyecto más general.
Thank you.
Yes, undoubtedly, we as a union of consumers, we have always and we will always defend a public service. However, we consider that we really need here a public-private partnership, and alliances of this type are really important. Because in all, technology should be at the service of citizens. So we need, as I said, a joint work with the universities, the City Council of Valencia, researchers, and all stakeholders to foster efficacy and the efficiency of the initiatives. So I insist on this collaboration, which is really very much needed.
Thank you, Viviana. Guillaume, could you contribute to this?
I just wanted to mention, so clearly the work we have done with Emivasa is rather something done for a single customer. So clearly Emivasa wants to deploy its infrastructure and basically have its own private infrastructure where they can process their own data. Now, this is what a lot of people are doing in the domain of fog computing, and almost all the initiatives nowadays are of that kind. But there is no reason why it has to be that way. So we can also think about this infrastructure as an infrastructure like a road network, like the water network, which is public property, where people can just make use of the infrastructure. And this is actually what we're going to try to do in the second phase of the Living Lab, the one which starts just now. So the goal will be to design a platform which will be open for a variety of usages, for a variety of users, such that anyone potentially may be authorized to come and to use this infrastructure. So this is for us very exciting, first because of the social benefits, and also because from a scientific point of view, it creates new challenges that are going to keep our students busy for a while.
Thank you. Dimi, do you have your personal opinion about this as researcher and seeing from the other side?
It's the same thing that we said in the first presentation when we closed it, and also what Guillaume said before, like FogGuru is about creating blueprints for applications. That means that those applications can be really different. It's not one customer. What we closed with in the very first presentation a year ago was that everyone should contact us. Like we're starting a platform, and that platform is open for anyone to use. It doesn't go into one direction, and it's there for people to build applications. The second batch is actually the proof of that people are there to actually develop something different on top of it. That's at least what I believed, and this is how we moved on with the project.
I see. And now, seeing from the point of view of the exploitation of the results of the project and bringing it to the business, Guillaume, what are the perspectives for exploiting the results of Living Lab from Valencia? At Valencia?
So clearly we're not doing this only for our own enjoyment, and we hope that those results are going to be useful. So the first exploitation perspective, the simplest, I would say the most immediate, is to actually transfer those technologies to Emivasa to support them in experimenting the technologies. We know it remains a prototype, so it is not a finalized commercial product, but we are really engaged in finalizing this journey together to transfer those technologies. Now, what is interesting here is that even though we have worked in very close collaboration with Emivaza, and we have used this particular use case as the driving force to lead our developments, we strongly believe that the same technologies can be reused in many other contexts. So this is an activity that will start now that the technology starts to be ready and usable, and we are going to promote the usage of those technologies. We are certainly going to release them in open source formats, such that the broadest number of users may take those technologies, try them, challenge us, ask questions, give us feedback, such that we can improve the work.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Guillaume. And Alberto, do you have your own opinion about this?
Yes, as I mentioned before, the fact that...
The microphone, please.
Sorry. I say that, as I mentioned before, the fact that being able a new tool like FogGuru makes us to redefine the way we design a network. So there are new opportunities that we will try in field, first as a proof of concept, in which we will prove different facilities. For instance, we can check if we can use the FogGuru node to communicate to customers if there is an incident in the network, for instance, that the pressure is low, and we are working on it, and we send an SMS or a WhatsApp to the customers affected before they even notice that there is a lack of water in the home. So we have a lot of ideas, with the security as first concern, that we have to be very sure that the communications are encrypted and unsecuritized, especially if we have to act over valves or systems that can be managed in remote. So we are thinking about several cases of use, or in which FogGuru nodes are able to improve our network.
Thank you. And from the audience here, you can raise your hand, and if you have some questions for our experts, please. I encourage you to ask them. And from the remote audience, do we have some questions? I'm going to receive it in my phone. Okay, if you have. My production team should send them to me. I have one. Do you think that the maturity of the technology is ready to be scalable at the whole city level? Maybe Guillaume or Dimi, or also Alberto? What do you think about it?
Dimi?
Yes, we think so. I mean, this was the idea from the very beginning, that you start with one neighborhood and then you move on to others. Slowly you reach the level of a city at some point. And that's the whole point of moving all the problems and all the computation as local as possible. So I think then you can just scale it to the level at least of a city.
Yeah, so right now the experimentations that we have done are very small. And in particular, they have been very small because of the lockdown, because of COVID, which did not make it very easy to try things in the wild. The system is designed to be scalable. The technologies are meant for this. The LoRa networks are meant for hosting a very large number of devices. And we have been very careful in the platform design, to keep it scalable. So I would say all the conditions to scale at the side of the city should be there. We still need to demonstrate it. And this is something that I would very much like to do in the next month.
Perfect. We hope you can. Alberto, could you contribute something to this question?
Yes, as I said before, depending on in the case of use...
Microphone, please. Sorry.
Depending in the case of use, we have to be very cautious in applications that act our distribution pipelines. So maybe for distribution pipelines is a little, we need more time to prove the technology, but for service to provide to final users information or service like that, I think that is usable right now.
Thank you. Please, the audience, I encourage you to send us your questions using the hashtag #FogGuru. I think we have one more. Okay. Wait a moment. One question is, how have you worked with the data privacy, with the privacy of data that you have gathered? Has it affected to the citizenship or something?
It certainly does affect, and it should be there in the first place, not an afterthought. And actually, we took some time off in order to take care that things should not be leaking, things should be there for the people to be protected at the end of the day. And for example, Hamid took some time to actually investigate on a couple of sensors. And there we found different implementations of different encryption schemes. It's not that you can accommodate every type of it, but it should be there in the first place, and this was what we thought.
Yes, Guillaume?
So privacy is a property of the data. It's not a privacy of the platform which processes the data. Of course, the platform must do its part to not leak data, to not do bad things with it. But the privacy is first something about the nature of what you're processing, the data that you're processing. So here we're talking about, I would say, a relatively simple case where the data is being produced by the Emivasa company through their devices and processed using their own platform. So as long as this platform does not leak this data, then basically we're not different from the current system where Emivasa produces their data and they process them themselves, right? If we're moving to other use cases, then this is a question which is extremely relevant because all those IoT devices are designed to be close to the humans. They are designed to be close to human activities. So very obviously, there is a lot of thinking to be done when we design, when we install new sensors, new devices, to realize what are those data which are going to be produced, what are the privacy properties that must be attached to those data, and how to make sure that the platform actually understands and respects those constraints. So this is also work which has been started. So we have one PhD student over there who is working on those topics, and this is one topic that will become more relevant in the second part of the Living Lab, because there we will have more open data, and the data will be available to more people. So we have been careful to make sure that we will not collect very sensitive data, like, I don't know, a video camera which would film the people's faces. So this will not be part of the platform. But this is also a question that we're asking to ourselves as part of our research activities.
Okay, thank you, Guillaume. Vicente, Alberto.
No, in fact, in one of the first meeting we have, do you remember that all the radio transmission from the IoT device is encrypted, and in order to the FogGuru to deal with the data, the FogGuru has to disencrypt the message. So the keys for this encryption have to be stored in the FogGuru node. And one of the first concerns that we managed in the project was that keys have to be in a volatile memory in order that if the FogGuru node is stolen, because usually are installed in public facilities, the burglar has not the keys of the device because it will be dangerous. So from the first time, security was our first concern in designing the FogGuru node.
Thank you, Alberto. Vicente, desde el punto de vista de la ciudadanía entiendo que la privacidad es muy, muy, muy importante. ¿Querrías añadir algo?
Sí, indudablemente el tema de la protección de datos y la privacidad es una cuestión de seguridad, y por tanto los ciudadanos siempre son muy recelosos de la utilización de sus datos, ¿no? En ese sentido, lo que tienen que hacer, sobre todo las propias administraciones, es tranquilizar a los ciudadanos y sobre todo la utilización de buenas prácticas, y esto principalmente con el tema de la transparencia tranquiliza a los propios ciudadanos, ¿no? Donde se le dé una cierta seguridad, ¿no? Entonces vivimos en una época en la que efectivamente los datos muchas veces suponen poder, y por tanto hay que explicarlo, y la información y la transparencia y las buenas prácticas hacen que los ciudadanos pues puedan estar seguros, ¿no? Pero no obstante hay que trasladar esas buenas prácticas a los ciudadanos con información.
Gracias, Viviana, please.
Yes, of course, everything that has to do with data protection and data privacy is really important. Citizens need, but because it has to do with security. So citizens tend to be quite reluctant to give away their data freely, of course. So that is why public administrations should play a role in reassuring citizens so that they feel safe, they feel secure. They should make sure that those best practices are well conveyed, and transparency should be at the core of every action we carry out. The citizen needs to feel safe. Data imply power, and that power, the use of that power, has to be properly explained by conveying information in the proper way.
Thank you. Now we have a more technical question, which is what networking infrastructures are required to deploy this project? Can it be deployed in developing nations where there's only 2G or 3G cellular networks?
Well, the backbone of it is not just one protocol. We could also work with LoRaWAN, and we could also work with different protocols for that, depending on what you have available. It always has to have range at the end of the day in order to reach the nodes themselves. As far as connectivity goes, this is what covers it. As far as costs go, for example, this could be, it was already implemented in small-scale nodes with very cheap devices, Raspberry Pis, for example, and that could also help in order to deploy something like this in a developed nation.
So this is interesting because, as I explained a few minutes ago, a FOG has two network systems. There's the networking system between the devices and the FOG nodes. And we have been using LoRa, and we think this is a good system and a good protocol for this type of IoT devices. And then there's the second part, which is to allow the FOG nodes to communicate with each other and with the rest of the internet. And actually, when you're in a situation where those networks are not extremely high performance, then this is where it matters even more to reduce the amount of data which is going to be transmitted over those expensive or not very high performance networks. So basically, this is a very good use case for the FOG because it means that we can process data close to the devices and rely less on those long-distance networks. As Dimi was mentioning, the infrastructure is not expensive. The machines themselves are reasonably priced. I mean, we're using very small and very cheap devices for this. So we have never tried. We have never gone to, for example, developing countries to do this. But this is something that I would be very interested. So if the online audience, if the online person wants to drop me a message, I would be very interested to take this further.
So I encourage you to push Guillaume.
To do it.
So, more questions from the audience? Yes, Dimi, and maybe before also you have commented that COVID has affected the project. How COVID has affected your project?
One person of the project spent 3 months in a couch.
This person
in another country that didn't have a house, probably, because there were no flights. That didn't stop us from just continuing moving forward with meetings online and all that, but it certainly affected the speed mostly. The willingness, no, but the speed itself, yes.
Yes, and I will extend the questions because, Guillaume, could you explain how we solved the problems about COVID with the European Commission?
So clearly the COVID has affected us in many ways. Clearly those students present in Valencia, well, one of them got stuck in a different country and stayed there for 3 months, but even those who remained on site were locked in their home. So if we're talking about teamwork, this is not helpful, right? So fortunately, we are in one of the professions where we are more likely to work remotely, and we master the video conference tools, these kind of things. Now, the one thing that became extremely hard to do was experimentation. Because for experimentation, you need to go somewhere and to actually connect the water meter to a water tap. So this operation, this very simple operation, is something that we have done only a few days ago, and the tap is somewhere there, outside. So it has affected the work of this group. The other thing was that we were supposed to start the second part of the Living Lab in June, right after the first batch. And this turned out to be totally impossible, right? So already for those students in Valencia to move to other countries was difficult. For people in other countries to come here was just impossible. So we had to reschedule the task. We had to reschedule the experimentation. Now it has become possible for 3 students from the second group who are here today, so they are studying their own projects. One of them is having visa problems. The visa problems are also a consequence of COVID because the embassies process the visa applications much slower than usual. So clearly it has affected us. It has not changed our determination to carry out this experimentation and to carry out this great project. But clearly, this is life, right? You have unexpected things happen. And this one was more unexpected than the normal unexpected. And this is also, I think, a great learning experience for the students to experience firsthand, how do you deal with a project when not everything goes exactly according to plan? And to reorganize and to change your mind and to reschedule and to change a little bit what you're delivering. So let's say it has been a great learning experience. I hope we don't learn more about this, and I hope the epidemics will stop very soon.
Thank you, Guillaume. We have suffered it.
It was interesting.
Yeah. And for Vincente and Alberto, I would like to extend this question and ask yourselves how COVID crisis affected your own businesses, and how do you think that research and innovation could help you? Maybe, how do you think that maybe Las Naves could help you to solve or to resolve the main issues you are suffering because of COVID?
Sí, en principio hay que, claro, la situación, ¿no?, del COVID para los propios ciudadanos nos ha producido, pues eso, cierta inseguridad, ¿no? Y en ese sentido, este tipo de iniciativas sobre todo en el que desde el punto de vista tecnológico se puede trasladar información de una manera no presencial, pues al ciudadano también le puede tranquilizar, ¿no? Y en este sentido, desde el punto de vista incluso laboral, ¿no? El teletrabajo pues abre muchas posibilidades, ¿no? Y este tipo, por ejemplo, de proyectos también de utilización de datos y de costumbres, pues también abre unas nuevas oportunidades para los propios ciudadanos. Pero en principio lo que sobre todo trasladan es una cierta seguridad ante este tipo de pandemias, ¿no? Y en ese sentido, pues si se destaca algo positivo, que desde luego no se puede trasladar, ¿no? Pero si hay algo es que se van a generar una serie de usos y costumbres que pueden ser positivos para el trabajo en un futuro.
Well, yes, this COVID situation has implied many challenges for all of us, for citizens as a whole, and this entails a certain degree of uncertainty, lack of security, of safety, as I said before. So any type of project of initiative that allows to transfer info remotely that doesn't require the face-to-face interaction will be beneficial for citizens, for all of us, and it will make our lives easier. And from the labor market point of view, teleworking opens up new possibilities, new uses. So if we can extract any positive thing, anything that is beneficial from this pandemic, is exactly that this will lead and pave the way for newer uses, new habits that can be useful and that can provide some advantages too.
Alberto, please.
In our case, speaking only in terms of professional, okay, I think that it has been even positive, the experience, because we have had time to improve our inner processes, so our productivity has rocketed. We have tested that cities where we have implemented IoT solutions, the performance of the tele-reading of smart metering have even improved along the lockdown, because working in remote we have been able to improve the performance, whereas with other technology that has a lot of dumb devices in the street and we cannot operate for at least 2-3 weeks, the performance dropping. So this is reinforce our idea of migrating to IoT solutions in tele-reading. And from the point of view of user, Vicente, maybe you have heard of another Mediterranean city, I don't will say the name, but it has had a lot of problem with water meter reading, that you have heard anything about it in Valencia. So it's the best proof that the system works and it has benefits to citizens.
Thank you. I think that we have not more questions for the audience, but we'd like to close this roundtable asking a question from myself, which I think that is the most important, but I think it is also the most difficult to answer, because as you maybe know, from Las Naves, we used to develop research and innovation projects. We analyze and we measure the results of these projects, and for sure we find a lot of benefits for the citizens, a lot of benefits for the city, but the European Commission has done different research, and they have noticed that the social value of innovation doesn't arrive to people, and people doesn't perceive that research and innovation could improve their lives. So Vicente, esta pregunta es para ti. ¿Cómo how do you think, cómo crees que podríamos hacer llegar la investigación y la innovación a las personas?
Sí, yo creo que iniciativas como estas son muy positivas, pero tú lo comentabas, ¿no? Las instituciones europeas, la Comisión Europea ve la innovación, y así lo vemos todos, ¿no? Que siempre tiene que estar al servicio de la propia ciudadanía, ¿no? Entonces te piden, y de hecho es un valor añadido, por no decir obligatorio, la justificación ciudadana de cualquier proyecto, ¿no? Y en ese sentido lo que hay que trasladar, que el resultado final, independientemente que sea un avance tecnológico, tenga unos beneficios que puedan ser directamente palpables y puedan ser vistos por parte de los ciudadanos, ¿no? Y que los ciudadanos puedan tener un beneficio, ¿no? Entonces esa innovación al servicio de la ciudadanía es totalmente necesaria. Está claro que se puede, desde el punto de vista tecnológico, podemos avanzar mucho, pero todo aquello que no conlleve una serie de beneficios para los propios ciudadanos, no, independientemente que económicamente pueda ser muy útil para las empresas, no va a tener ningún sentido. Entonces, a partir de ahora, cualquier tipo de proyecto tiene que tener siempre un fin social. Y eso es lo que estamos demandando, y de hecho yo creo que la Comisión Europea va en la línea acertada, ¿no?
Viviana, please.
Yes. As you said, Gema, the European Commission and the different EU institutions stress the fact, the idea of innovation being always at the service of the citizens. This has been an added value and a precondition, so to say, an obligation that any project, any initiative must prove and demonstrate a social value. The final result has to show benefits that are tangible, that can be seen by the common citizen. There should be a clear advantage for them. So a lot can be done from the technological point of view, many advances and can be done, but the citizen must see and understand the benefit. Otherwise, they will be pointless. So we demand from the unions, from the consumer organizations, exactly that, what the EC stresses. Anything has to have a social aim and a social benefit.
I think this is very easy to say, but this is complicated to achieve, and I think that it's very important that we could keep working together in order to find this achievement.
So maybe I'll give my take on this. So first, thank you for the very horribly difficult question. But it's a good question, because I agree, and this is the goal. The goal, I'm a professor, I'm a researcher. My personal enjoyment at developing science does not matter. What we need to do is to actually bring those technologies and those innovations for some social benefits. That's a very long process, because we start from core research on technologies which are, we are in the field of science which is not directly visible to customers, right? If you work on, I don't know, computer graphics, then you can see the outcome of some research in a very easy way. We're not in that position. So it is a long process to develop the research, to involve companies, to involve deployments, going and providing some tangible benefits to the citizens. And the last part is to actually make this visible to the citizens, right? So the further we go from the technology to the citizens, the less grip that we have as researchers to do it. And we actually rely on the companies, and I'm very happy to have a representative of the citizens because we also rely on you to do those last steps, because you know the citizens, you know the local environments. What do I know about communication with the local people? So we really need those relays, and I'm really glad to have you here today for this.
Thank you, Guillaume. The point of view of the academy is very important also in this part. So just for wrapping up this roundtable, I would like to highlight some conclusions that there's a big difference between testing in a closed world and in a real world. We have some achievements and some good results of this use case, but we have a long way to run, a long way to continue. We have to work around the exploitation of the solution we have developed. We have to assert the privacy. We have to continue to enlarge the project to a district or a specific part of Valencia. For sure, the research and innovation could improve people's lives. Let's demonstrate it. So thank you very much. Thank you, the speakers, very much.